Thinking about launching a podcast but overwhelmed by all the moving parts? At TurnKey Podcast Productions, we take the hassle out of podcasting so you can focus on the talk, not the tech. From concept to launch, guest booking to post-production, we handle everything. Need a strategy to grow your show and turn guests into clients? Yep, we do that too. DIY or done for you, we've got the solution that fits. Whether you're just getting started or ready to scale, TurnKey is your behind-the-scenes podcast team. TurnKey Podcast Productions. Your voice, your message, fully produced. Learn more at turnkeypodcast.com/contact. That's turnkeypodcast.com/contact.
Coming up today on the Nice Guys on Business.
I know many people, my wife is one of them, that will go to TJ Maxx once a week just to see what's there, or go to Home Goods once a week just to see what's there, because what's different today in the off-price world are those frequent deliveries, and fast turn, that there's something new every day at Century 21 or TJ Maxx. It's at an amazing price. If I don't get it today, it might not be there tomorrow. So that's what's driving the traffic. That's what's driving the conversion. And that's what's driving the sales, to tell you the truth. It's not, 10, 15 years ago, you'd go into a department store in April and you'd go back in July, the same stuff was there. It's like, okay, well, I saw this 10 weeks ago.
Right.
You don't have that same experience in really any off-price retailer, to be perfectly honest. That the turn in the ever-changing inventory is what drives traffic back, and that's the secret.
If a leisure suit could talk, it would sound just like the Nice Guys on Business.
Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by TurnKey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
All right, welcome back, Nice Guy community. Today, we're going to talk retail deals, and the thrill of the hunt with Larry Mentzer, Chief Operating Officer of Century 21 NYC. With more than 30 years in major operations, from Macy's to Century 21, Larry knows exactly how the industry has evolved, how you deliver luxury brands at an off-price value, and why shoppers still love the treasure hunt experience of discovering something amazing for less. I know I love that. Today, we're diving into the retail leadership, how it really works, and the behind-the-scenes look, how brick and mortar and e-commerce balance each other, and why a great shopping experience still feels a little bit like New York magic. Larry, I'm excited to chat with you. Welcome to the podcast.
No, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me. It's always great to talk about New York and about retail and the journey really from pre-COVID to post-COVID and how different the retail world is, specifically in New York.
Oh my gosh, and it completely reshaped your organization as well. You have the one big location, correct?
Yeah, we're down to one store at the moment. Pre-COVID, we had 15 stores and a website. We're doing about $1 billion in sales. We've been in business since 1961. Lived through the whole disaster on 9/11, being right across the street from the World Trade Center.
Wow.
And really, bounced back after that. It was a big challenge for our company. And really had felt like we had hit our stride until COVID came in and was just such a major disruptor to us. And we're very heavily dependent on tourism in New York specifically. And a large amount of our stores were in the New York metro market. And it just became not survivable. But from the day we closed, we knew we would reopen. And we reopened shortly after we closed for COVID. And we're now down to one store and rebuilding the brand.
So Larry, over 30 years, so much has changed. I mean, technology has probably changed the entire face of your business. Is there other epic changes, or maybe technology is the thing that we plant our stake in here, just to talk about how things have changed the way that people are shopping for fashion today?
Well, without a doubt, technology has dramatically changed, shifted, upended retail. Starting with e-com, 15 years ago, but today with, AI coming at us full speed and we don't fully understand it, I think is a big challenge for us. But things that we do understand and we're reacting to, the biggest one is really social media, and how that has changed how people shop, why they shop. Influencers and celebrity influencers really now set the trend for business, and they've become the voice for a lot of brands and a lot of what people are shopping for today. And I think accessibility, which is also driven by technology, that today, whether it's through e-com or just a quick Google search, anything is available to anyone at any moment. So it is certainly kind of leveled the playing field in terms of what people have access to. There was a time where unless you had a luxury department store in your market, you didn't have access to luxury goods, and then e-com certainly made more goods available and accessible to a broader audience. But today you can find, Gucci at Gucci, you can find Gucci at Saks, and you can find Gucci at Century 21, all at different prices. And it's really, again, leveled the playing field for consumers, which I think is a good thing. It's made everything really accessible to anyone that wants it.
Well, the more things change, the more they stay the same. I've heard that expression a million times. And as we were chatting about right before I hit record, we saw the founder of your organization doing the social media posts. And he's not a spring chicken. He's an older guy, but there's probably some relatability and some authenticity, perspective that happens when you have the founder of an organization going back to 1961. So can you chat about that for a second and how you promote and get your marketing done?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, founder-led or founder-driven media is a real thing. As I mentioned to you, when I grew up in the late 60s and the 70s, Dave from Wendy's was like, oh my God, that's the guy that owns Wendy's. It made the brand seem more relatable and real. And Wendy was a real person, and this was her dad. And look, they're selling hamburgers. Isn't this interesting? And today you see a lot of brands that are out there doing it. And we decided to jump on that bandwagon as well. Eddie loves to be on the camera. He's one of our owners, and he's the best spokesperson for the brand. And he can speak in, I think, a relatable, authentic style that really resonates with all of our customers, whether it's the younger customers that we're trying to attract and need to attract, like every retailer does, to our core customer who's probably between 35 and 50, and as well as some of our older customers that he's real, he seems real, which makes us seem more real. And authenticity is very important, especially to folks, I would say under 35, but probably under 30, that they want to know where they're spending their money. It's not just some nameless, faceless corporation. There's a real family behind the brand that comes to work every day. So it's cool.
And so Century 21 is always, they've been known for designer brands at an incredible value. How do you maintain that magic while retail keeps evolving? Because the evolution of retail, it really has progressed so far beyond a storefront into the online space and fast fashion. And how much can you haul in for, X amount of low dollars? How do you maintain that magic?
Sure. Well, one of our registered trademarks is designer brands at amazing prices, which you can find designer brands at great prices in lots of places. But to really come into an off-price store such as Century 21, and there are many off-price stores, whether you're at TJ Maxx or Marshalls or Burlington or Ross or Macy's Backstage, Saks Off Fifth most recently, and Nordstrom Rack, we believe that we have real designer brands at really amazing prices. And we get that through great partnerships with our vendor community, an amazing merchant team of people that are students of the business. They're entrepreneurial, they're curious, which to me is one of the most important things to look for in anyone that's going to join an organization is, are they curious? And they're out there negotiating for the best deal so we can bring these great prices to our customers every day. It's not it's not like repeat. We don't use the same strategy with every vendor. We've got to squeeze margin out of every dollar and every sale that we get, just like everyone else does. But we don't have to get the same margin from every dollar. And there are some brands that we need to have that are kind of like the icing on a cake. And then there's other brands that are like the cake, kind of the meat and potatoes of the business. And our merchant team works hard to really negotiate amazing deals for Century 21, and we bring that value right to the customer.
Where things have changed over the last 5 years, even the last year, with organizations like, and we've talked about this a number of times on the Nice Guy podcast, is companies like Shein, fast fashion, and Amazon, and even Temu. How do you compete with a $5 rag versus a quality garment or something that that you have, but somebody's just looking at the bottom line? How do you compete in that environment?
It certainly presents some challenges. I don't think I know for most people the days of investment clothing are over. There was a time when you would buy a winter coat and you would spend a couple $100s on it and you think, okay, I'm going to have this coat for 5 years. today people buy a puffer jacket for $39.99, and if they lose it, they're like, whatever.
Right.
Who cares? It was $30. It does make it harder. There is a customer out there though where brands still matter, and the brand could be Temu or it could be Prada. But there still is a status customer out there where I think brands still matter. And while they may not want to invest in clothing, shoes, outerwear, it's a badge, if you know what I mean. Like, do you need a $300 coat or do you need a $30 coat? You really just need a coat to stay warm. But for a lot of people, those badges that we all put on ourselves, those labels, like a Stanley Cup is a badge. Do you need a giant sippy cup? No, you really don't. But it's important to some people. And I think brand names, whether it's Levi's, which is certainly an accessible brand, is probably more desirable than some no-name private label jean from some other department store. Like people want to be different just like everyone else. They want to fit in. They want to have what everyone else has. So I do think brands will always be important. I think some of these fast fashion companies, whether it's Zara, H&M, Forever 21, Shein, they serve a similar customer. People now today drive or dress in a high-low way. I might have on a pair of pants that I got at a thrift shop and they were vintage, and I paid $10 for them, but I'm wearing, a Prada shirt with it. It's part of the look. Right. So I do think people shop in multiple channels now. I don't think there's a department store customer and a discount customer and a specialty store customer. I think today, because of technology, which you mentioned at the beginning, has kind of leveled the playing field. Everything is available to everyone, everywhere, all the time. And there are people that still dress head to toe in one brand, but I think the norm is, Converse sneakers with a pair of Levi's and some great designer top, or a not designer top, but you're carrying an Hermes handbag, for example, that costs $20,000, even though you got your pants, for $9.99 from Temu. I just think people dress differently.
I'm with you. I hear you 100%. I mean, I am a guy, I love to go treasure hunting. And so I could find in a local Goodwill, I could find something that might be designer label, but it's $5 because they either didn't think enough to look it up to see what the value was, or that's just what they marked it at. But at the same time, I like quality clothing as well. And I'm with you. I came from an era, I was born in 1964. So I came from an era that, you would buy your $300, Mark Cohen or whatever jacket. But nowadays, look, I don't necessarily have to do that if I can find a vintage shop. But people still love to treasure hunt. So I see them treasure hunting in your store. I can see that, they're looking for that name brand at that amazing price. Can you talk about how the treasure hunt experience really plays into your shopping experience?
It is really the secret sauce, I think, for all of the off-price guys, whether you're at Century 21 or, TJ Maxx or Burlington or Ross, that it's that I can't believe I found this. I can't believe they have this deal of a recognizable brand. We only sell designer brands at amazing prices, real brands. We don't produce anything for ourselves. We don't have any private label, or we might have some unrecognizable brands, but they're real brands.
Yeah.
So that is one of the things that differentiates us. Nordstrom Rack, Saks Off Fifth, and then all of the TJX brands, they produce for themselves, which is why many times if you're going through the rack at a TJ Maxx, you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I've never heard of this stuff. But number 6 is, Tommy Hilfiger or it's Polo or whatever. And you pull it out and you're like, wow, it's $19.99. That's the thrill that people are looking for. And we try to bring that to the customer every day. It's FOMO, that fear of missing out. That's what brings people back every day. I know many people, my wife is one of them, that will go to TJ Maxx once a week just to see what's there, go to Home Goods once a week just to see what's there. Because what's different today in the off-price world are those frequent deliveries, that fast turn, that there's something new every day at Century 21 or TJ Maxx. It's at an amazing price. If I don't get it today, it might not be there tomorrow. So that's what's driving the traffic. That's what's driving the conversion. And that's what's driving the sales, to tell you the truth. It's not, 10, 15 years ago, you'd go into a department store in April and you'd go back in July, the same stuff was there. It's like, okay, well, I saw this 10 weeks ago.
Right.
You don't have that same experience in really any off-price retailer, to be perfectly honest, that the turn in ever-changing inventory is what drives traffic back, and that's the secret.
And I know probably one of the other things that you guys do, and I don't know if this is part of the secret sauce, but it's definitely part of the formula for sure. You guys do a lot of experiential events. I saw that you were doing a pop-up, for example. You had last weekend, I think, as of the recording of this, you did a embroidery pop-up, and I love that because anybody over $30 spending, they were able to get some embroidery done on a garment that they provided. Tell me how that fits into the overall marketing process or in the draw to pull people into your store.
Well, people are looking for entertainment. Or really, if you just want to transact, if you're just looking for a transactional relationship and you need to buy a pair of jeans, you can go online and buy them anywhere at 1 p.m. or 1 a.m, and they could be at your door later today or tomorrow. It's a simple, impersonal way to do business. If you are going to go to a store, you probably want more than just another transactional experience, which is why stores, they set up the way they do, and there's visual and there's mannequins and there's windows, because people want inspiration and they want entertainment. And a lot of these in-store events that we do and many retailers do are part of that, creating entertainment, something to do, something unique. It's personal. I can buy a gift for someone. I can get you a cashmere sweater that you could get anywhere, or I could get one that has your name on it. So now it's personalized. It's a level up. It's unique. It's entertainment. Retail used to be theater. If you think way back to, John Wanamaker days, or, Marshall Fields or Selfridges, it was all about like a circus environment.
Yeah.
They were selling a lot of lotions and potions and probably not a lot of truth in advertising back then, but people went for the entertainment, to find something new, the newest thing. And that's really what a lot of these in-store events do. And I think it works in every kind of retail. If you go to Costco, the whole food sampling thing is about, trying to show you something new, to engage you, to have a conversation. And we're doing the same thing, whether it's with the embroidery, we do a lot of engraving. We have little food pop-ups. We partner with other local retailers and partnerships and stores and restaurants around the downtown New York area to come in and give our customers something more than just a transactional experience, which they could get at home, quite honestly.
So I'm 27 or 2,800 miles away from you, but my kids are not too far from you. My son, who's just turning 30, lives in Brooklyn, and my daughter lives in Manhattan near Times Square. And I haven't been into one of the stores, into your store personally, but for someone who hasn't been there yet, what makes the shopping experience a little bit more unique? And you just mentioned a few of the things by you doing your pop-up experiences, but what does make that shopping experience feel more unique?
Well, one of our three uniques is that we think, and our customers tell us, that we are the New Yorkiest store in New York. And I know that's not really a word, but we've been part of the fabric of New York since 1961. We've experienced all the ups and downs in New York, whether that was, 9/11 or COVID, or, anytime there's a crisis on Wall Street, which is a lot lately. We're right downtown. And I think there's something familiar about Century 21 to people in New York. But when you come into our store, it's fast, it's different, it's urban. It's FOMO in real time. You see people with basketfuls of merchandise, which you really don't see in other stores. It's not unusual to see, we have a lot of international visitors in our store. So you hear a lot of different languages, and we have an amazing luggage business because a lot of international travelers will come to New York and buy a suitcase and fill it up. Like, you don't see that happening in other stores because, that maybe the exchange rate works in their advantage, but we have the brands that people want. It's not just more stuff. And there is, at the moment, there isn't another one. If you're in New York and you're shopping at Macy's, well, Macy's has 500 stores. There's probably one in your hometown.
Right.
So that being said, you should go to Macy's when you're in New York as an ex-Macy's person. It's an experience. But if you miss it, you probably have one wherever you live. You don't have another Century 21. And even when we had 15 stores, they were all in New York with the exception of one in Florida. So, we were born in New York. We live in New York. We now have New York in our name at Century 21 NYC. We used to be Century 21 Department Store, which is not a good phrase any longer. But when we reopened post-COVID, one of the differentiators was that we wanted to lean into our heritage, and that's that we were born in New York. Our founders were New Yorkers. Our current owners, who are the second generation of the founders, still live in New York. They're in our marketing. It's real. It's authentic. And we try to bring a little bit of New York to life in our store every day.
Are you and your buyers? I'm assuming there's got to be some sort of operational challenges to getting those brands sometimes in your store because they know that you're going to deliver them at an amazing price,
Sure.
and maybe that will, maybe tick off a little bit some of the bigger retail establishments. How do you deal with that? The operational challenges of delivering these luxury brands.
Yeah, we have different agreements and different deals with different vendors. You know, no one is forced to sell us. They want to sell us because they know that we will present their merchandise in an elevated way. Our stores, I believe you have to be ready for the customer every day. And part of being ready for the customer is having a neat, clean store. There's no excuse to have a store, no matter what you're selling, not be ready for the customer. I always say to folks, I live in Florida now, but I am in New York every other week. And I constantly tell them, don't get ready for me. I'm not buying anything. Be ready for the customer every day. That's the magic, that when he or she walks in, that the environment is ready to shop in, like it's ready for business. So I do think that, making that commitment to our vendors who sell us, that we will present your goods in the most elevated on-brand way we can for Century 21. So I think that's important. There are some brands where we don't sign them in the store. They're happy to sell us, but they don't want to draw any extra attention to themselves. So we won't put their brand name on our wall or on our signs. There are other vendors that are happy to sell us, but they would rather we didn't mention it in marketing. We could show it, but don't talk about it. So we respect those asks all the time, because while they're happy to sell us, we're happy that they sell us. And if we're selling a brand at that's ticketed at $120 and we're selling it at $69.99 downtown, and you could go to Midtown and find it at another department store at $120, that could potentially be a problem. So we honor those asks from all of our vendors, and always try to act with the highest level of integrity that we can, and protect the relationship and protect the brand. So it's a challenge.
In full technology environment that we're in right now, AI obviously being a big part of that, online shopping, Shopify experience, everybody putting, it's basically if they're shopping and they don't want the personal experience that they could get at your store, they're shopping online. How do you balance physical retail stores, the physical retail store with e-commerce in today's environment? How do you make that happen?
Yeah, we had a very robust website pre-COVID. It wasn't our number one store, but it was, in the top 5. Launched it in 2011. Felt like we needed to be there because that's where the customer was. And in addition, it's a great marketing tool, if nothing else. So, having a website that people can go to and learn more about the brand and transact is a good thing. It was very difficult for us, as an off-price retailer. We do work on much tighter margins. It's hard to offer free shipping. It's hard to offer free returns. It's hard to do all of the production work that's required, because as an off-price retailer, the way we buy goods and the way we get a deal is we do all the work. So we got to take the picture, write the copy, the spec copy, all of it has to be done. And that all obviously drives up an expense. It's difficult to generate a profit at our reduced margin. And I think you see that with, Burlington does not have a website. Primark does not have a website. Saks Off Fifth, who recently, went through their own challenges with the Saks Global, bankruptcy. The first business they closed was the website for Saks Off Fifth, because it's challenging. And you want to be there for the customer because that's where they are. And it's important that you meet the customer where they are, but you've also got to make money, or else there's no reason to do this. So we do have a website today, c21stores.com. It's an informational website. We try to provide some services there, information there, similar to what Burlington and Primark are doing, because that usually for most customers is their first stop. They go to the website first to see what's in store before they make a visit to the store. So it is a challenge. It's not on our radar right now. We've done a lot of exploratory work to see if we can figure out how to make it work. And breaking even is not winning. Losing is not winning. We're committed to winning. So we are committed to brick and mortar at the moment.
I know that having someone walk out of your shop with an amazing deal is definitely one of the goals every time somebody comes in and walks out of your shop. What do you hope they remember most about the overall experience?
The deal. It's funny. It's the deal because there's nothing better than, putting on a coat and remembering like, oh, this is an amazing coat, man. I got it for a deal. Or to give a gift to someone for, giving someone a Gucci sweater that cost X, which is beyond what you could probably to afford. And now you've given it to someone and seeing the thrill on someone else's face and knowing like that you were able to bring, happiness to someone else, whether that's to yourself or to someone else as a gift. We talk a lot about value as defined by you. Like, how do you define value? Is it a great price? Is it a great experience? Is it how it makes you feel? It's really all of those things. So the deal and remembering that deal in a positive way is how we hope our customers think about us, that it was a great shopping experience. I got in and I got out. It was frictionless, which is important. And man, I got an amazing deal because no matter where you are on the income scale, everyone wants a deal. Nobody wants to pay full price. No one wants to cut out a coupon. No one wants to wait for a sale. And if I need a toaster, I need it today. I need toast in the morning. Like, I can't wait for your toaster to be on sale. I want a deal today. And then I want to leave the store thinking like, wow, I got the best toaster at an amazing price. I'm going to love this. And it brings you joy. It quite honestly does. So that's how we hope our customer feels: thankful, joyful, prideful, and that they got a deal, that they won.
Larry, I so appreciate you sharing what your experience lends to the environment and the industry and to the shopping experience as well. I am sure that those that are listening in our audience, if you plan on heading into New York City, you can't not go there to Century 21 after you've heard this episode. So how close are you to Cat's Deli? That would be my question.
Not close. What's
the closest deli to you? I need a good matzo ball soup or a corned beef sandwich. Where can I get one close by the shop?
Midtown somewhere. Sadly, no place downtown. I'm trying to think. I get you good pizza.
Well, worth the journey, even if you can't get a corned beef sandwich close by Larry's store. So, Larry, so appreciate you being on the show today. Thanks for sharing. Final word: anything that I should be asking you that I have not asked you about your store or about the experience?
No, I don't think so. I thought it was a great conversation. Love for people to come and visit. I'm a retailer at heart. I've been doing this for almost 35 years at both Macy's and Century 21, and it's amazing to see the customer every day. It really is. And that brings me joy when I'm in the store to really watch what's happening, watch our team provide great service and make everything accessible to everyone. It really is a great feeling. So come on down to Century 21, 22 Cortlandt Street, Lower Manhattan.
Excellent. Thanks for being on the show today, Larry. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Great call.
Nice Guy community. Never underestimate the power of nice or the power of an amazing deal that you can get at Century 21. All information, including access to the Century 21 website, will be right there in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Fill up your week with the Nice Guys. Well, there's always money in the banana stand.